We did a lot of discussions about what scare people, and the number one phobia, hands down, is a fear of clowns. People are just scared of what's underneath that makeup. So we took that and created what we think is the scariest clown ever seen.
In the year 2000, Halloween Horror Nights unleashed Jack the Clown onto the world. The Clown Prince of Blood is probably the most well-known HHN icon to grace the Horror Nights ether. Initially conceived by J. Michael Roddy, Jack was brought to life in the year 2000 as a way to usher in a new era for Halloween Horror Nights as the world entered a new millennium. The character was brought to maniacal life by performer James Keaton. His energetic, devious portrayal of Jack became an instant embodiment of the character. For over 20 years, Keaton has gone on to portray Jack in every version of the character since then, and it's almost impossible to picture anyone else in that role. As the first true icon of Halloween Horror Nights, no shade to the Crypt Keeper here, Jack was given an elaborate backstory to accompany his existence. Jack's story is marred in over 20 years worth of twists and turns. It's worth diving into at a later time. "This is my villain origin story" is a popular cheeky phrase often said in today's zeitgeist. The character of Jack the Clown owes his villain origin story to a mysterious individual hiding in the dark shadows of Jack's overall backstory. Over the years, passing references to this person have appeared at various times, but some haven't even noticed. The character of Dr. Oddfellow is more important than most realize. Exactly who Dr. Oddfellow is a little unknown. The character is surrounded by a lot of mystery. What we do know is that Oddfellow isn't a good person. His name itself is a lie. He calls himself Dr. Oddfellow, but he isn't a doctor at all. Oddfellow's first name is Richard, and he was an entrepreneur of sorts, having a knack for showmanship. In the early 1900s, Oddfellow owned a circus carnival which entertained audiences. Unfortunately, an accident caused the death of multiple patrons at his circus. Oddfellow fled, towing his carnival with him and sporting a new name, Dr. Oddfellow's Carnival of Thrills, in order to try to evade authorities. Enter Jack Schmidt, who was born at the Shadybrook Sanitarium and Rest Home in the late 1800s along with his brother Eddie. Jack would be adopted by a family that wasn't the greatest. Jack would grow up in an abusive home. Later in life, Schmidt escaped to literally run away with the circus. This brought him to Oddfellow's traveling carnival. Jack had a passion for entertaining children and wanted to perform, donning a clown outfit and persona. Unfortunately, Jack's seemingly playful passion for entertaining children wasn't so innocent. Jack Schmidt was a sadistic murderer who, rather than solely perform for children, murdered 13 kids across the southern United States. Eventually, the FBI investigating the disappearances of the children began to close in on Jack. Cornered and fearing that he would be caught, Jack revealed his secret to Dr. Oddfellow, hoping that perhaps he could help conceal his crimes. Oddfellow was furious as he feared that the authorities would finally catch up to him after the circus incident years ago. Oddfellow demanded that Jack reveal the location of the missing children's bodies. It turns out the bodies weren't that far away, as Jack had kept them in 3 trunks and lugged them around with him while traveling with the carnival. Fearing that this would be his downfall, Oddfellow would have Jack killed. Ever the showman, the sadistic Oddfellow took Jack and the bodies of Jack's victims and placed them in his House of Horrors attraction. He would keep the bodies of the children in their trunks, but place Jack in a homemade Jack-in-the-Box next to them, becoming a grisly exhibit. Years would pass and Oddfellow would retire his carnival. He sold off the carnival in pieces and they were scattered all over the place, including the grisly exhibit in the House of Horrors. Many years later, in the 1980s, a British documentary crew was filming for a series on classic American dark rides. The team came across Oddfellow's old House of Horrors attraction, now rotting in a Louisiana junkyard. The team would ultimately find the corpses of the 13 children, as well as the rotting body of Jack Schmidt, sadistically hidden in his large, makeshift Jack-in-the-Box. Local authorities would seize the bodies at the crime scene. On Halloween night, while in transport to the medical examiner's office, the vehicle carrying the lone body of Jack the Clown mysteriously vanished into the night. Later that very week, the crew who discovered the bodies would be found dead. As the years passed, the mystery surrounding these incidents would evolve into urban legend. One legend states that the decomposing body of Jack the Clown was up and around, killing again. Another legend says that anyone who cranks the handle on Jack the Clown's Jack-in-the-Box, releasing him, would receive a reward. The final bit of legend says that Jack had been searching for the man responsible for his death and imprisonment, Dr. Oddfellow, ever since. In the year 2000, Jack the Clown was resurrected when a man decided to test the validity of one of the legends. He turned the crank of Jack's box, unleashing him onto the world. A few years later, in 2006, Jack was caught and imprisoned in the place of his birth, Shady Brook Asylum. It is here Jack found out that Dr. Oddfellow was somehow still alive all these years later. The following year, in 2007, Jack the Clown left Shady Brook Asylum to finally get his ultimate revenge on Dr. Oddfellow. Jack would eventually find the mysteriously still alive Oddfellow at a small new traveling carnival called Dr. Oddfellow's Dark Carnival and Emporium. Late in the night, Jack stalked into Oddfellow's tent and murdered him, finally having his vengeance. Jack would take charge of Oddfellow's carnival and his possessions. This included a mysterious cane, which may have actually been the source of a mysterious power, which is how Oddfellow had still been alive all these years later. Donning a new ringmaster outfit, Jack would spend time revamping his carnival, searching for the worst, most sinister, evil, vile things he could to populate his new attraction. Jack's new Carnival of Carnage would lay stakes in Orlando, Florida in 2007. For Halloween Horror Nights 10, Jack the Clown wouldn't only be the face of that year's event, he would also be catapulted into Halloween Horror Nights infamy. Dr. Oddfellow would also be very present at the event. However, Jack's large, looming shadow has all but pushed Oddfellow into a footnote of HHN lore. For a long time, it was kind of a tradition for Halloween Horror Nights icons to be featured in a corresponding house at their respective event. 2001 would have seen Eddie featured in Run, but that changed when Eddie was replaced as the icon. The Caretaker had Screamhouse in 2002, the Director had All Night Die-In in 2003, the Storyteller had Where Evil Hides in 2005, all of the icons had a house in 2006, Jack had Jack's Funhouse and Clownavision in 2007, Bloody Mary had Reflections of Fear in 2008, and The Usher had Silver Screams in 2009. This tradition was severed in 2010 when Fear did not have his own house. Lady Luck would also not have her own house in 2011. It wouldn't be until 2015 until the practice returned with Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters and Mayhem. It continued the following year with Chance and her house, Lunatic's Playground 3D, You Won't Stand a Chance. And of course, most recently, the icons were represented in HHN Icons Captured at Halloween Horror Nights 30. Halloween Horror Nights 10 didn't feature a house for Jack. Instead, Dr. Oddfellow had his own house. The Fear House would basically be Oddfellow's Dark Carnival. It featured a lot of psycho murderous clowns, disorienting mirror rooms, and other horrors running about, but no Jack. There was a room that referenced the murdered children and Jack's Jack-in-the-Box, but not the character himself. However, Jack did sometimes appear to heckle guests who were waiting in line. Dr. Oddfellow would remain a shadow at the event ever since. That being said, in recent years, Oddfellow's name would sometimes emerge in random places. In 2020, the HHN Tribute Store featured a carnival-themed room. A keen eye would notice the wood carving of a carnival wagon. Painted on the side were the words, Oddfellow's Dark Carnival and Emporium. This basically would tie the room to the point in the lore where Jack killed Oddfellow and took over the carnival in 2007. Jack the Clown has gone on to become one of Halloween Horror Nights' most recognizable icons. He may in fact be the most recognizable icon. However, Jack's origins lie with a one Dr. Richard Oddfellow. Oddfellow offers a plethora of untapped potential to explore and a twisted origin tale for one of HHN's most known commodities.
Did you miss me?
I hope you enjoyed this journey into the fog. I'm HHN Legacy, and thanks for watching.